Secretary of State John Kerry meeting in Egypt. He's looking to arrange a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, here's the latest on the action. The Israeli army confirms one of its soldiers is still missing after a deadly battle earlier this week. A total of 566 Palestinians, 27 Israelis, killed since the fighting began on July the 8th. We're joined now by George Birnbaum. He's the former Chief of Staff for Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Sir, I'm not afraid to express opinion on this program, and I'll express mine now. I think Secretary of State John Kerry is on a mission to save Hamas. A ceasefire would, in fact, protect and save Hamas. What do you say?
Well, I won't be afraid to share my opinion as well. Yeah, I know your feelings about how vacuous and incomprehensible the financial fiscal policies of this administration are. They're equally vacuous when it comes to foreign policy. We were in the same position 2 years ago where Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton backed Muslim Brotherhood Mohammed Morsi for president of Egypt and then negotiated a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. A ceasefire that Hillary Clinton back then said would bring security to the people of Israel. All it brought was 2 years of giving Hamas hundreds of millions of dollars, not to spend on improving the lives of their citizens, but rather to build these tunnels of terror, to rearm themselves, and be in a position to rain an enormous amount of terror on the citizens of Israel. So not only is the policy vacuous, but they're making the same mistake twice.
George, is it your position, is it Israel's position, that this doesn't stop until Hamas's ability to lob rockets into Israel is ended once and for all?
Well, absolutely. In other words, a ceasefire for the sake of ceasefire doesn't help the situation. The question is, what comes out of the ceasefire? If what comes out is a situation whereby Hamas no longer has the ability to arm themselves, no longer has the ability to rain terror upon Israeli citizens, and quite frankly, no longer the ability to bring terror to their own citizens, then I think a ceasefire is warranted. But short of that, it doesn't make any sense, neither for the Palestinian people nor for the Israeli people.
I'm going to express another opinion. It is my opinion that the reaction on part of governments to what Israel is doing has been much milder and softer this time. The reaction on the streets has been very harsh, plenty of demonstrations all around the world, but governments have not been so anti-Israel as they were in the past couple of years. Would you make that judgment?
Absolutely. I think part of the reason for that, Stuart, is the fact that Israel took upon itself to put 3 ceasefires in place in the past 2.5 weeks. Every one of them was answered by Hamas with more missiles. And I think the world sees that. Not only that, but the world has funded Hamas to a large degree for many years, both the European Union, the UN, even the United States taxpayers. In fact, John Kerry just yesterday signaled another $47 million of U.S. taxpayer dollars to go to humanitarian purposes in Gaza. Well, let's be frank. You know, who controls the UNRWA in the Gaza? It's the Hamas terror system. So we're basically giving $47 million of funds to terrorists. And so I think the world leaders, the world governments understand that Hamas has not done a single thing with the money they've been given to improve the lives of their citizens. They've rather taken that money and simply built tunnels of terror and rearmed themselves to murder Israeli women and children.
America's Federal Aviation Administration has just banned American airlines flying over Israel for the next 24 hours. Your comment on that, sir?
I kind of wish they would have done it 24 hours prior so John Kerry's flight would have gotten diverted back to Paris or something.
You don't really believe that. No, come on. You don't really believe that.
I'm exaggerating. Listen, Israel thrives on tourism, and there's no way that Israel would allow any threat to come to its airspace. In fact,
okay.
You know,
look, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to pick up on what you just said. You're sorry that it wasn't imposed 24 hours ago to stop John Kerry getting there. That implies a very hostile sort of attitude on the part of Israel towards John Kerry and Barack Obama, doesn't it?
Well, I was speaking personally, Stuart. I wasn't speaking on behalf of the Israeli government. Listen, Israelis want to live in peace. There's no doubt about that. And any efforts to try and find peace are certainly desired by the state of Israel. You know, Golda Meir said it very well 40 years ago that we'll have true peace when the Arabs learn to love their children as much as the Jews have learned to love theirs. So, you know, we want peace. I mean, we don't want to send our youngest, our bravest, our brightest into battle only to have them come back in coffins. We want peace. We want peace for ourselves and for the Palestinian people. You know, with regard to the FBN restriction, you know, Hamas does not have sophisticated target-guided missiles. They have these crude surface-to-surface missiles that have no guidance whatsoever. So I think the threat to airlines is minimal, if not zero. And I do believe that Israel would be the first to come out and put out a warning if there truly was a threat to the airline industry.
George Birnbaum, what I'm getting out of this interview is this: it's not going to be over anytime soon. George, I'm out of time. We appreciate your being with us today. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.